Miami and Atlanta is you said it was maybe the closest or one of it's a pretty tough matchup if Atlanta FaZe plays like the Atlanta FaZe that we saw in those first 2 weeks. If they're like that, this is a toss up. There's no reason to believe that the Miami Heretics can't beat a FaZe that looked extremely vulnerable in the first 4 matches of the CDL season. I think we both agree that Atlanta FaZe, as we expect them, will be better than that. That they will uh, probably beat the Miami Heretics. But Real has proven to be a really, really good player. And the Heretics have gotten pretty unlucky with their game fives. I think they've lost 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So they're 1-3. They've lost all 3 of those matches by game five. Atlanta has just looked really lackluster in general. So I don't know. Like I'm gonna go with Atlanta. I will
Yeah.
probably pick them. I guess I wouldn't pick them past this first round. But they are probably in the top 4 teams. Like if I'm going for champs, if I'm thinking like which of these 4 teams can win champs, I'm gonna put them in that top tier because they're Atlanta FaZe. They have world championship pedigree. They have so much talent. The things that we've said over the past month since we got done with that second week of the qualifying matches. But it's really a question of if they will show up for this first matchup against Miami. Maybe they can kind of inspire some confidence in themselves, inspire some confidence in the Ego Chow podcast to make sure that we're not losing faith in Atlanta FaZe. Are you going with FaZe, or are you thinking more along the lines of like maybe Atlanta might not be rounding into form just yet?
No, I'm gonna trust the boys on Atlanta and the coaching staff they got there and that whole crew. Hopefully they use the holiday break to, get a little bit of a reset in and hit the ground running, try and, build back up to what the expectations for a championship caliber squad they are. But yeah, like you said and like I said a couple minutes ago, I do think this match is closer talking about it now than probably people would have expected a couple weeks ago or before the season actually started. So it's really the onus is on Atlanta to try and prove anybody who's doubting them wrong or just come out and show what they are actually capable of. At the same time, Real, we've highlighted him a couple times on the previous episodes and whatnot. That just if he hits that vital form and is playing really well, that this could be a match that's tough for Atlanta, even if they are playing better than they were previously. If Real and Rencor in particular are working together and get off to a hot start, like it could spell trouble for Atlanta. So I'm excited for this match. I'm excited for the implications too of what this could mean, and obviously getting a little bit ahead here, but the winner of FaZe versus Miami plays LAT, so most fans will want to see another matchup between Atlanta and LAT if it's if we get there. But um, yeah, I do think this is an interesting one. We have kind of um, haven't straight up addressed it, but just in terms of ranking these first round matches, I would say that Surge versus Cloud9 is at the top of my list in terms of the ones I think will be like the best match and the most exciting. I'd probably put FaZe Miami number 2, then Minnesota Gentlemates 3, and Optic Vegas 4. That should be the most lopsided match on paper. So, um, yeah, nonetheless, I do think Miami and Atlanta, the recipe is there for this to be a really good one. Just a lot of question marks in terms of what phase we're gonna get, if Real and Rencord are really popping off for Miami or not, or if they aren't, how is Miami playing? If are they able to make something work even if their stars aren't being superstars in this particular moment? So we'll have to see what we get.
You brought up a good point when you're talking about FaZe in Miami, how there's so many question marks in this match, and I think if you just look at the minor broadly, that is the most compelling thing, in my opinion, about the minor. If you are on the fence and you're like, why should I invest any of my time this weekend to watching like the 12 CDL teams in action? Why am I going to even worry about something that doesn't even have any relation to the actual major one standings. I would just say there are so many question marks. There's so many unknowns going into this tournament. And the fact that it is a single elimination tournament just kind of compounds all of that uncertainty. Like, all the questions we have about Atlanta FaZe, they only really could have 3 maps, maybe 5 maps to show or answer those questions. And the same thing for C9. I mean, what if Optic, for example, were to lose to the Vegas Falcons? It's only one match. It doesn't even affect them in their major one standings, but
Yeah.
it would cause so much chaos, and it would create even more questions. And the same thing with FaZe. If they lose this match to Miami, how many more questions does that add to Atlanta FaZe's future, or the questions that we do have about their future? So I think if you're on the fence about it, I would just say just watch a little bit, maybe just watch some of these first round matchups to see if some of these questions can be answered in any way. And I think some of them could. Like, if we see Atlanta come out in this matchup against Miami and they're dominant, they're the team that we expected them to be, I think that gives a lot of people, including us, but a lot of fans, maybe even people inside FaZe, a little more confidence of this team going forward, because we haven't seen them have a dominant showing yet. And that has been kind of a calling card in the past, where they show up and they're just like, holy crap, this team is incredible. And it looks like they can't be stopped. And we just haven't seen that yet in the 2024 or 2025 season.